live in, a game comes out with more detail than I've ever seen in my life, that gives the player more agency than I've ever had to deal with in my life, even in my real life, for God's sake, and people call it boring. Look, there are reasons to not like Red Dead. Maybe you don't like westerns, you weren't raised on Roy Rogers and Lone Ranger like I was. Maybe you prefer stuff like Witcher, Final Fantasy, Assassin's Creed, or Kingdom Hearts. That's fine, I like those games as well. Maybe you don't have a lot of time for games that have busy work in them because of your job, because of school, because of your family, maybe because your brother is bigger than you and is able to kick you off the PlayStation. There are lots of reasons to not like Red Dead 2. I'm gonna fully admit that, even though I think it's one of the best games of this generation, and that if you dislike it, you're wrong. But there are reasons to dislike it, despite me thinking you're wrong. And I'll respect your reasons, despite me thinking you're wrong. But to call this game boring is an absolute spit in the face of the developers that decided that, hey, let's make an open world game that isn't shitty. An open world game that's about agency and choice instead of gimmicks. This is coming from somebody that's going to take a week off from the rest of my life to play Kingdom Hearts 3. This is coming from a Final Fantasy 15 fan that has over 100 hours into it. And for a long time, I have had my shit kicked in online for liking the wrong game or not liking the right game, and being told my opinion doesn't matter because I play the wrong shooter or enjoyed the wrong open world game. It's frustrating, I know. And I'm not trying to do that to you here. I'm simply exercising my right as a YouTuber to share my own opinion. As a commenter, exercise your right by just saying whatever you think about the game. Fine. From my point of view, the game is the furthest thing from boring, and I'm going to explain to you with a little bit of a story here. Avoiding spoilers, for a nondescript reason, I have to steal a wagon that has oil in it. That's all I'm gonna say. I have to take a wagon from one area and get it over to a hidden area. That's all I have to do. I'm not gonna say anything else. The problem is that these wagons are guarded by people that get very angry if you just look at them wrong, and I have a whole mess of mistakes behind me where I just kept dying because I wanted to just rush in and deadeye everybody. So, part one of the story is that this game does not let you do stupid shit. If you act recklessly, you usually die recklessly. I've heard people complain that Red Dead Redemption 2 aims for you and has an aimbot mode with the Deadeye. No, you have to keep your Deadeye filled by drinking and smoking various substances to keep your focus up, which also can potentially injure your health core or your stamina core. Enemies are smart, enemies are accurate, and enemies are kind of ruthless. So I decided to go for a hit and run tactic to see how many of the guards I could get to chase me, but a different thing happened instead. So I throw a throwing knife into this dude right here. Oof, he's dead. And that's what happens there. Then they start chasing me and I start running. This is just, you know, par for the course already. If you've played GTA 5, you've been chased by police before. But this random guy was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I decided to run with him because I thought they might shoot him instead, and oh look, they do. I get up on this hill and I notice one guy approaching me from below. I take him out with a headshot, and then in the distance I notice something quite tasty. The wagon that I wanted to steal, or more specifically the horses connected to it, got scared by the gunfire and ran out of the camp into an open field. They were also busy looking for me. They did not notice. This is not scripted at all. I'm sure there's an easier way to do it or trigger it, but this is how I triggered it, and I was able to get the horses out of there. So I took the wagon to the hiding spot. After that, I was outside of my horse's whistle range. You guys have played Red Dead Redemption 1, right? Or Assassin's Creed Origins or Witcher. You whistle and your horse shows up. Well, in this game, you actually have to be in range of your horse. The horse isn't just a vehicle that spawns on you. I wonder how many players have wandered too far from their horses, gotten stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and had to walk up to the horse or closer to the horse in order to whistle for it, and then deemed the game boring. The truth is, when I grabbed the wagon, I should have whistled for my horse to follow me, although I was a little bit nervous to whistle when I felt like I was getting away scot-free, which I did. So now I'm on a little journey to find my horse. And on the way, a couple of crazy things happen. This African-American gentleman stumbles out from upon some foliage and falls on his ass. He exclaims to me that he has been bitten by a snake.
Please, I've been bitten by a snake.
I give him some medicine and he tells me that he owes me one. Well, I've done this type of mission before, if you want to call it that. I've done one of these events before where someone's bitten by a snake. But it was at a completely different time. It was a different person, a different voice actor, different lines even. The first person I stumbled upon when that kind of thing happened, he was already sitting down when I rode past him, whereas this person stumbled out. It was just a nice touch to have it be different, although fundamentally the same. Open world games are renowned for the repetitive side quests and the little events, and this actually feels like a human interaction more so than games like, I don't know, any Ubisoft open world game. Moving on from there, I decided to whip out some binoculars and study some animals because I was actually in quite an interesting little area. There were horses and goats and rabbits and all sorts of shit. So I pulled up my binoculars and started to study the animals. In case you didn't know, studying the animals allows you to see which weapon will be the most useful, whether it be a bow and arrow or a gun of some kind. That way you can kill them without damaging their pelts. Compare this to Far Cry 5's simple system of bow and arrow good, any other thing bad, and you have yourself a winning system here, at least in my mind. I can see kids and people that don't have a lot of time finding this kind of stuff boring, but this kind of stuff is incredibly interesting to me. I actually have to study the animals to find out what is the best way to kill them. Moving on, I come along a little homestead here, and there's some goats. I study the goat, and it says a repeater is a good idea to kill a goat. And I was like, hey, I got a repeater on my back. So I blew the goat's brains out. I got a really cool sniper V2 type of animation for it. And whoopsie doopsie, I forgot this is actually somebody's property. You guys might have noticed I killed this guy in my first Red Dead gameplay that I posted. I guess I didn't save properly because he's more than alive here and these are his goats. So he came out and he was all pissed off. Now my aim's a little bit bad, and that's because I turned off all of the aim assist stuff, and I'm actually just trying to learn how to aim the guns normally, whether in first person or third person. I got tired of the game trying to aim for me, so I turned the aim assist to the lightest it can be, switched it to free aim, and I have to say, it feels pretty good. My aim, however, isn't. I just love the visceral nature of gunfights in this game. Getting hit and shooting people just feels like really painful and actually almost sad sometimes. I've pinned people up against trees with my revolver just fanning the hammer. I've shot people in the back and just watched blood leak out of them while they crawl away. It's just tragic. So I felt bad, but I wasn't gonna kill the goat and the goat's owner to no avail, so I took the goat's coat, which is fun to say, and I realized something. I accidentally nailed a perfect coat. Like, a perfect coat. I've never had a perfect coat in this game because I'm always like chasing down deers with shotguns. Alright, so I have a perfect coat here and I don't have my horse to stow it on. I'm now a little bit limited in terms of my movement because I now need to get to my horse while not losing this perfect coat. Now while I was running, I was thinking about what people might find boring, and maybe it's just the amount of agency you have over Arthur Morgan that people find daunting, tedious, or boring. Keeping Arthur clean is important, keeping him fed is important, having the right types of foods and drinks is also very important for survival actually. You will be in a worse state if you just walk around without any food or anything that helps your stamina or deadeye. You will be in a much worse state. I'm not saying it's impossible to survive for a while, but eating, resting, bathing, drinking are all important aspects of the game. Keeping your guns clean. After skinning an animal, not walking into town covered in blood is also a good idea because otherwise the law enforcement questions you, and if they don't like the cut of your jib, you might end up doing this. Player agency is, in my opinion, the opposite of boring. It makes me feel like what I'm doing matters, who I'm killing matters, what I'm grabbing off of shelves matters. Everything I do in the game affects the rest of the game. Even greasing up Arthur's hair with some Dapper Dan makes him more appealing to the NPCs. Everything has some sort of cause and effect. The world is unforgiving, but not so unforgiving that you never want to leave your camp. You'll just never want to leave your camp with anything less than 3 weapons. After you turn off the auto-aim, the game actually takes a degree of skill, and again, requires a lot of player input. Half-assing things or doing things recklessly will usually get you screwed up, and you'll have less favorable outcomes, the worst being death, and also other characters just might end up not liking you, or you might get a big bounty on your head. The game rewards me for being smart, therefore making me feel like a valued player. I am now in horse whistling range, and Here comes my horse, my good and trusty steed. I place my goat coat on his back and I ride to camp. And the camp is one of my favorite things, because it needs to be managed, not very carefully, but managing it helps. Doing chores around and managing the ledger, donating your skins and money to the group is beneficial. A lot of people, a lot of kids won't like this type of busy work, but this is actually really satisfying for me. My money doesn't just go into buying guns and ammo, and then the loop is that I kill more things, take their money, and then I use that money to buy more ammo to kill more things. I feel like I'm actually benefiting the group, and I'm furthering the game by doing what I'm doing. I can grow relationships with people in town by saying howdy do or go fuck yourself. Almost every time I enter the camp, I'd say like 8 out of 10 times I enter the camp, there's a new piece of dialogue I've never heard before. Characters are having an interaction I haven't seen before, and the game doesn't feel like repetitive dribble like what I consider to be Far Cry 5's biggest problem, being repetitive dribble. Don't let anyone tell you that Red Dead is boring. In fact, Red Dead does something that I wish more games did. Treat me like a smart person. Treat me like someone that needs to take their time. Treat me as someone that can actually learn lots of complicated mechanics. Treat me like a player that actually wants to take care of my character and the characters around my character. Give me agency and choice, and honestly, I will consider your game anything but boring. Thank you guys for watching. I just want to make this video because I was annoyed that people had a different opinion than me. And honestly, that's it. I'm not even lying. I just kind of got a little bit butthurt that people were calling the game boring when I'm looking at the game as a modern masterpiece. This is why we consider video games art. And if you're the kind of person that's going to look at something this detailed and the word that you use to describe it is boring, I just don't know what to say to you. Other than that, I respect your opinion and that you and I could be friends despite liking different video games, because at the end of the day, these are our big electronic toys. I'll see you when I see you guys. Goodbye.